Hey there, all you super fans. Yes, today we're doing one of my favorite albums of all time. Chris, tell me, what do you get when you put Jello Biafra and Ministry together?
Lard.
Lord! Wow. Please leave all the comments in some place so we know if you've heard this album or not, because I'm always so surprised when I talk to music fans, other musicians, people that are into this style of music, and they don't know who Lard is. Chris. You know, it's not. I don't. It's such a super group thing, and I guess a required taste at that. Because take it for what it is. It's Jello Biafra doing one of his side projects, and he has so many side projects, but this one is by far my favorite. It might even be my favorite band in the entire world because it takes Jello Biafra, and just being Jello Biafra is, I love everything he does, and then Ministry, love everything that they do, put it together. Ooh, you get a big old vat, dude. Big old jar of just bubbling lard. I love it so much. That first song, so good. And this has kind of been, there's like a Wikipedia page for it. It's pretty in depth because of all the members that are in this are in so many other bands. You know what I mean? And for God's sakes, Chris, we found this because of just diving into Ministry, right? And all the Ministry side projects that were happening at that time, like Palehead. Hopefully, we'll get to do an episode on that. That's pretty much Ministry with just fucking. Help me out here. Guy from Minor Threat.
Yeah, Ian MacKaye.
Ian MacKaye. It was right there when I said Minor Threat. On the tip of my fucking tongue. And just as good. It's like very punk rock, industrial punk rock. God, I just go on and on. I could go on and on just talking about this. But Chris, when was the first time you heard some Lard? Let's get into it.
Probably around when you were getting, like, around that same time.
Right.
We all kind of got into it because of, like, Ryan and the whole Ministry thing.
Yep, Ryan CD case.
Well, it was just like, kind of just the nature of the beast. It wasn't even just that. It's like once you were turned on to a band, you sought out associated acts or bands that person's also in. So it's like you see members in other bands and stuff. And again, like we're going to talk about all the people in this band who are in other bands. So it's like once you start listening to one of these bands, you kind of
enter into the world.
So if you start digging deeper, you do find out more. And then on top of that, Lard is also like in movies and pop culture too.
Yeah, so there is like, some form of it here and there, but it's kind of one of those you even know about it or you don't, Yeah.
So I think probably the first time would be that what's that movie? The two killers, Born Killers.
Oh yeah,
isn't that
Yeah.
So that would probably be like the first time I heard it, like in a movie. Like, oh okay.
And they needed crazy music for that crazy movie, the way it's filmed and everything. This sounds about right. There's a lot of people that make fan music videos to these songs. They never had any like proper airplay or, videos made for them. It was kind of like made over a how many year long period? 4 different years it listed for sure when it came to...
it's like 90, 91 to 92, 95 to 97. And then it comes out in May 13th, 97. But, all done at Chicago Tracks. But it's just this long time frame of, you probably make a beat in 91.
Yeah, and you work on a song idea together and then go off and do your many other side projects or your main projects and then come back to this and put it together.
With this industrial style, it really opens you up to like creating something in the past and bringing it in later because it's so just like that riff copy and pasted over and over.
Yeah,
so you just need that riff. So so it's like, oh, I got this cool riff idea. You record that and then that's like a 10-second riff or something, and then maybe it sits on your hard drive or something for a year, and you're like, oh, cool. I put this in, and it works. It's really good. Copy it. That's the chorus.
And they just get a great drummer that had a good idea for it to come in.
Or even that, like
the drums.
you come out with a good drum, drum sample. You hold on to it for a year or 2 years.
Because all this is very industrial because of just like you were saying, the repetitiveness of the drums, the guitar riff, especially. Like really not a lot of dabbling, but there's definitely breakdowns and stuff like that. But on the verses, on the chorus, it's just straightforward. And there's really no change from the first time they played it. The only thing that's changing is the dump truck of lyrics that Jello's pouring down.
That's what makes it punk rock is like Jello's lyrics and just the furiousness and like the kind of, he has like, we were just listening to War Pimp Renaissance where it has this like delay effects. He's got like doubling kind of happening, that chant, that hey-oh chant, it has that repeat on, so it like doubles it. So he's not doubling it, it's the echo effect. Yeah. That's repeating it. So
and I love how they use the backing vocals too. Like that always just sounds like a crowd of people, And that
the chant.
Yeah, that same way that sounds like every time they use backing vocals. It's always like the band sounds like this,
Yeah.
And I associate LARD with that so much because I always listen to those parts because it adds a little flavor in between, There's a lot of layers to this song to make it sound so awesome.
Well, they do a lot with the like stabbing of it, that you know what I mean? So it's like it's real driving on those points, and that's where that industrial feel comes from because every stab is the exact same. It's like dun dun dun. The guitar sounds like a robot because has been possibly like over compressed and like just run through some sort of guitar equipment. At that time, what is this, 97? If they're using digital guitar equipment, it's going to have that digital edge to it.
And Ministry's been perfecting this since they started, just the way Al's vocals can sound or how he can make other people's vocals sound, with his effects, if you will. It's just so awesome. And I know it'd be really hard to play live.
That's what I say. It's very studio. Like all of his stuff is very like, and I mean, Ministry, they do play live, but even then, like,
their songs sound different because
they do sound different.
Because there's like a real drummer there now too,
and a real guitar player. So you hear the like, it's not, the stabs aren't quite as stabby.
Right,
you can't get that.
And they'll bring out like synthesizers and stuff
they'll
like
use
that.
Digital drum sets, and they'll even play like
it in
the backing track. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So of course, being an industrial band, they have a track that plays behind them that fills in all this crazy sound.
Yeah,
all the chants, all the like Ministry, you hear like somebody talking in the background. Oh,
yeah.
That's all like just lined up, ready to go. The drummer's got to be on. Everyone's kind of doing it's like the Slipknot thing we talked about, or the Korn thing in previous episodes, where it's like you're kind of, you set yourself to this track, and then as soon as you're going, and there's no like. That's why like,
you have to be on time.
Yes.
Or it's even like in the light show, like sometimes pyrotechnics are connected to that.
Exactly.
Like it
the
needs
pyro,
to go on this riff, emphasize, flames come out.
The lights,
you know what I mean?
If you have a screen behind you, like the animatic that's playing, sure there are people controlling it, but it's also set to a sort of like
an easier way to streamline it would just have it set to a click. Like if you were in the studio, just play with that click, because that's going to be on time. So everything else will work on time.
There's bands that do their effects changes to a click, or to the backing track. So like if they have a delay in the song, it's going to come on at this point in the tempo song. Your effect's going to click on. You've got to be playing that part, because then the delay is going to come off, and you're going to need to be playing your regular part. You know what I mean? If you're off from that, it's going to be obvious because the delay sound's going to cut off, and you're still in the middle of the solo. You're like, oh wait, I'm off from something.
Yeah, I missed.
I'm off. Oh yeah. So I mean, LARD kind of seems like a band like that, where maybe it's not quite as on, but they're doing the Ministry thing where it's be very hard to do this live because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. And we've heard this will be their second album. I don't know if those other ones are albums. The Power LARD, that's an EP. So, and then their last one, 70s Rock Must Die, another EP in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
we only get really
there's,
two albums.
there's only
20 something songs
LPs,
to this band.
long plays. So,
Yeah.
and you get this album and the one before it, Last Temptation.
And on Last Temptation, one of their more famous songs, like kind of War Pimp Renaissance, the very first song, Fork Boy. And I've constantly see them play that live in a Ministry show. I've seen them play it live at a Jelly Biafra and the Guantanamo School of Medicine. That was hard to get out.
I think Fork Boy of all these songs probably seems like the one.
It's the hardest, though. I mean, could we play a little bit of that?
I mean, it's also one of the shortest of their songs,
Right.
So it's like clocking in at 3:53, probably,
Yeah, that last
it looks
album
like it is
was
the shortest.
More like punk rock or
I Want to Be a
hardcore.
Dog.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, they have those two other albums that only have 3 songs on them.
Right, but I constantly see them try to play Fork Boy live, and sometimes it's just god awful because of how that song sounds.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it on a whim. No one practiced playing this during the set. You're kind of just like, I'm at this venue or something, like that, and it's like these people know this a little bit more than others.
That
if you will.
William Rieflin dude did the drums for that song. So if
drums, drug sniffing dog.
No, Fork Boy. So
yeah.
Say if Jeff Ward or any of Ministry's people are trying to do it, this one guy only did like
one track for each of the albums.
No, well, he did Mate Spawn and Die. It seems like he does like maybe some of the stuff that maybe it's more technical, or if you know what I mean. William Rieflin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he filled in for Jeff, and I have his thing. His name's Bill. But yeah, 9 Inch Nails, Pigface, Revolting Cocks, King Crimson.
He helped
so I mean, he seems
Martin
like
Atkins put together Pigface.
Two
drummers built that band.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He might just be more technical, like more
because he does drug sniffing dog on this album, which will be the next song that we play. Is that correct?
Let me check. He does.
I can't remember. There was 3 drummers, and they all.
No, see, that's where this album, Jeff Ward only does I Want to Be. He's the only does one song on the whole album.
Oh, Jeff Ward does.
Jeff Ward, it flips the other way around, where William actually does more of the songs on this album.
And maybe it's because Jeff Ward killed himself. Spoiler alert. R.I.P. Hate to hear that story.
Well, a lot of people in this project have passed away, sadly.
But that was a little bit more tragic than dying of old age.
Yeah, well, he did carbon monoxide poisoning, so it was like, yeah. But
I heard a darker story, but that might have just been rock and roll legend.
Well, he died in 93. This was released in 97.
So right, so it's like a bunch of stuff that he did for like Pigface, and they just like
that's probably
feels like a memorial.
That's where you get these recorded in 91, 92, because that was recorded the year before he dies, and that's I Want to Be a Drug Sniffing. Just the drums for that song. Those drums are crazy, dude.
I mean, maybe you were right. Maybe they just play like a bunch of 8 measures of it, and then they just loop it. He didn't have to do that the entire song, because that
snare roll, yeah,
dude. To keep that up for like 4 minutes,
you can't.
Insane.
I'm like, you can't do it. And
I'm trying to be a better drummer, but I'm like, how do I fail at this? And everyone else can get it.
I mean, it is possible, but you lose the industrial feel. The whole point of the industrial scene is to sound like a robot.
Yeah.
So how do you sound like a robot if you play it, if you try and do it in one take, or
if you're loose with it?
Or if you're loose. Yeah. You're not. You're going to sound like every other band.
And physically exhausting to just try to keep that up for 6 minutes or what have you, to perfect a snare hit every time, on the 2/4.
Some of these bands, what they'll do is they'll just record just the thing. Like if
they
don't, just the snare, just
each
the
part
kick,
of it, and then go in there and add
sequence it out. Yeah, but it'll sound like a real kit, but it's that same sound played repetitively, which is the robot sound.
And that's what a lot of this seemed like when Ministry records. I don't believe they're in there trying to record this entire drum, but they're using real drums.
They are using real stuff.
Make it sound more like metal.
Yeah, he's using real guitars
so it's
and stuff, but it's
not too synthed out, right?
Yeah.
So that's where like industrial really crosses the lines from like new wave or anything that like it's taking from, you know, using the synths and stuff, because it still has a guitar, it still has a bass, it
There's still a
has
person playing
drum.
it. Yeah, it's not just a robot synthesizer.
Exactly.
now.
And you just add a little bit more flavor. It's just like Nine Inch Nails, you know,
Yeah.
just get a cool synth beat in the background. You just play
You
some
want-
awesome guitar
You
on top
want
of it. It's
some
sick.
of that feel. You want some of that human feel, but you also
It makes it rock and roll.
But
you know?
yeah, but that's where it also plays with your mind too. That's where like this type of metal industrial really like it turns some people off, or people really like it because it is so different that it's like it's almost its own kind of like music making where, you know, some people are like
It's
I'm
kind of
trying
like
to think,
hip hop, where you just
or
lay
like-
down this backbeat, you know, this backing track, and they sing on top of it, and that's all they ever did was like just set down a backing track of just like crazy drums and like crazy fucking guitars, and then allow Jello Biafra to rap over it. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I mean that it seems
It
like
was
a lot
a
of
good analogy, you know,
of
how
that-
industrial works.
like the creating of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably a lot of like copy and pasting, but also like you got to create the riff and you got to create the song. So it does have to sound good. So, you know, how many tracks are on beat or like thrown away? You know, is it that situation where you're creating so much material because it is so easy that you're tossing it, or is it you're really nailing that? You know, at this 97, we're pretty into, you know, digital recording. I mean,
they're digitally recording
and they're a digital
right now,
band.
yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, so it's
I
like,
mean, they could use reel to reel, but
it
we had
seems-
digital technology available at this time. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean? And
So-
it sounds cheaper. That's the problem with digital. It's not until nowadays with the money that goes into it that they try to get closer and closer to that reel to reel sound, because you just, for whatever reason, same thing with film. You know, digital film looks like shit compared to real film. We discovered that shit like for the 19th century, right? So
well, I get it's like what you're trying to do, right? So it's like industrial music, in my opinion, doesn't really sound that good if it isn't digital, because it is a
Oh, for
digital type
sure,
of music.
yeah.
So it's like if you're shooting an IMAX scene, comparing it to like you wouldn't shoot an IMAX scene on like an old 41, because
right.
even though like that's a great looking camera, it's like I need this to be epic and like
yeah.
sort of like huge
I need that
vistas.
red camera.
Yeah, I need this big,
Need the red.
you know, 1917 dudes running down and things blowing up behind them, and you just see everything in the field.
Yeah,
and
you
it's
kind of
like-
need the
But then if you were to film that with a smaller
Special
camera,
effects.
it would
CGI.
look like the Lighthouse, where it's like all up close. Probably it'd be more of a closer shot on him, and you know, so there's that give and take. And you know, if this was recorded on probably if this was done more tape like,
he was saying back in the day when he recorded, it was nuts. He would like cut
that's not like
the tape like in tiny pieces to clip it together like this.
make
and
that
he was just
yeah.
his hands would just be covered in like cuts because of just taking all that time cutting little tiny pieces with a pair of scissors and taping it. That must have took fucking forever, you know?
So at this point of 97, he's probably moved on to this digital way of making music.
Hopefully.
So, hopefully. And if so, it's made it a lot easier.
And we also had
like-
at this point Ministry just put out Pig Filth in 96. So I believe at that point he was saying the recording process changed dramatically when they did. Like ever since Pigface, he started to record very different from the older albums. And it was just, I guess, moving into a bigger studio. I can't really remember the story. No,
So yeah, but, I mean, digital, at least the Pro Tools as we know it, has been going since about 89. You know, so that would probably be around the 90s. Early 90s is where it's probably in enough studios at this point, you know, given it 4 years to kind of get into the industry or so.
right.
And become the standard. You know, by that point, these early 90s, mid 90s, you definitely like that is digital music is the way to make it. Yeah, what was the Pantera album? I think we talked about Reinventing. That was
Yeah,
done
2001.
Yeah, that was one of those.
Yeah, and that's why it had that precision sound, because they probably just had one of those digital boards to really get everything all clicked in. And every time now I listen to a Pantera album, Jack in the background,
Jack
say what's
Attack.
up, Jack. Just looked at us with the most evil stare. that fuck, where was I going? That Pantera thing where it's just they remastered all their old albums, you know? Every time I listen to it on Spotify, it's like special edition, remastered, and they just went in there with like some good, you know, recording equipment and just cleaned it up to get that. Cuz Pantera is really about that click as well, you know what I mean? They wanted that clicky sound. They didn't want a lot of distortion or like a lot of fuzz to be in between. It's all precision when it comes to
It's
his
super
drums.
clean. Yeah.
Because he's using like triggers, I believe.
They're
you know?
also one of those. He was
After
a
a
big
while.
proponent of like, not digital guitars, but solid state guitars. So it does have that real like clean,
Cut through, yeah.
you know, kind of a
And they
little
just
cut
they just
sound. And
keep
then
fucking
his drums were very
keep fucking remastering these albums. I'm like, stop it.
yeah. So like
Forgetting what
if
the last one sounded like.
you have that real tight guitar, and then you add these real tight drums, and then the bass is like that's pretty tight too, precision wise. Phil really like fast and staccato. He doesn't, you know, unless he's like screaming and holding out a note.
Oh yeah,
Or
he's
like,
usually very
"Say," he does that kind of like wail with his voice. He'll kind of break his voice a little bit, like in floods or
but
stuff.
at most like on this album, it's like when we were talking about their last album, it's like kind of go away from all that and more like focus on just creating a hard vocal sound. You know,
Yes.
he was very dynamic and he used to explore all different
Yeah.
types of things in older albums. But this was very different, where it was just like, "Gah!" you
Yeah.
know. And then I feel like everyone started using that sound. You know, it just that kind of like redefined.
Modern.
I would say metalcore, if I, you know, the Disturbed thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're redefining that genre even
Mm-hmm.
more. And the only bad thing when it comes to those bands is that they didn't take away that they didn't use the same technicality. You know, they weren't making crazy death metal and then kind of toned it down to kind of fit, but still had your death metal like
Yeah.
roots embedded in you. So that's why you make
They just made
crazy
like
riffs.
heavier
You know what I mean?
kind of poppy music, where it's
Yeah.
like they took the softer and made it heavier instead of the heavier and make it a
Yeah.
little bit tone it down, which is what Pantera kind of did.
And I can see why people like wouldn't like that sound.
That's why
depending on what
Pantera
type
gets
of-
this weird like
Yeah.
the technical people are like, you know,
Yeah,
and then
it-
like you're like, I don't know, they kind of fit in this weird category because they did cross over in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
like, to
whole
the
thing using
mainstream.
triggers, in my opinion, was like, there you go, you know?
Yeah.
But cleaning up the sound because thrash metal
Well-
never needed that. Huh? You know? And they're technically a thrash metal band.
Yes.
I don't know.
They were. They had some thrash.
Everyone used to be
started with
thrash
thrash
metal, right?
intentions. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Everyone used to be a thrash
Look at those
metal.
first. Look at the image, just the CD covers of those first albums. Like they look.
And I would say
insane.
like LARD is like definitely a thrash metal thing because it's so punk rock with
I
the
think
way
it's-
it moves. But man, those guitar riffs are
like you.
devastating.
They
Like, they're
are.
heavy. What is it? Like drop D?
Well, I think it's like what you're saying. It's kind of like this Ministry is Al's like metal brainchild, where it kind of started as like this synthy
And then got
rock
heavy.
band,
Yeah.
but then kind of like really over like till to today, it's transformed from its incarnation.
Yeah.
So much, and even sound, look, perform, like every way it's changed. But then Lard is like this kind of side project that does have legs because it is in pop culture. It has a really famous lead singer. I mean,
Very, very well known.
I mean, he ran for president in 2000, and this was in 97. I mean, we're not far off in the sense that he is still in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
His
and
name,
still there
you know,
now.
so he's a very popular person.
Go ahead and follow alternative tentacles
Yeah.
on YouTube. Fuck, I cannot speak today.
Um,
It's his record label.
Yeah.
The Buzzcocks are signed to it. Fun.
So you have like this being that kind of weird. It's also a very humorous band, whereas
Oh, yeah.
Ministry
Read
is
these
not.
lyrics.
Ministry's. I mean, it has humor to it, like the album covers and stuff. Like they're poking fun, but at this point too, you know, it's starting to get a lot more political. Ministry with like President Bush being in office around, you know,
Yeah.
coming into office in these early 2000s, and just
Yeah, Ministry just works different because, again, he was recording very different from how Ministry records now. I think Lard was a good way for him to try to figure out how to add real drums into this. Because those older Ministry albums, I love them to death, but for God's sakes, those are not drums at a certain point because they're so synthesized out, you know?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at their timeline
Like
here too.
even
For like,
mine's a
so I
horrible,
mean,
horrible thing to taste or whatever the fuck
yeah,
it's
that's
called. It's not
89
even
though.
real drums, you know?
So that's 89.
They don't even list a drummer on the back of the albums.
By Psalm, which is 92's 3 years, I think he's using real drums. Psalm 69.
I really
trying to
believe
think
it
of what
was
it sounds like.
Filth Pig that the first time they started using drums. And one of these drummers, and I believe it was Bill, you can call him, William Rieflin, that played on that Ministry album.
Yes.
And then immediately left the band after that because they never accredited the drummer on the back of the album. As far as he was concerned, he was never in Ministry, so he never technically quit Ministry. But that was the problem with older ministries that they didn't have a drummer. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then they have to he has to oh fuck, I forgot to put his name on the album. Maybe he didn't. Because
Yeah, okay.
go look at Minds of Terrible Things to Taste or Psalm 69, Land of the Honey. There is no drummers. It's him and Paul Barker. That's fucking it on everything. And they just call it programming. You add in those drums. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
he's talking about Filth Pig here. He said everybody hated Filth Pig. They all wanted Psalm 70. I gave them an electric-free record full of gun-in-mouth dirges of nothing but pain.
Lay Lady Lay on there, man.
Aside from the cover art, the humor was gone. All that was left was misery, and I still had to tour the fucking thing, which went down in history as the inevitable, intolerable, absolutely depraved sphincter.
I like some songs on that album. The album's just different.
I mean, he's
From
talking about
older.
yes, Ministry did have its humor. So I think Lard took the humor and more radical, now that you have Jello Biafra singing,
Yeah.
it takes it like the album art. He said the album art kind of got darker for after Filth Pig, and then you got Dark Side of the Spoon. It's kind of humorous, but also very dark.
What a long time to take to get to your next album because that other one was not acclaimed very well. It had to take time, and
then
there's songs in there where he's talking about the problems that he's having during the recording,
Yeah.
because Bad Blood on Dark Side of the Spoon. That's that whole song. Even the video is them arguing in the studio and him just smacking people's hands away from the mixing board. So he points at it,
Yeah.
But he's also young at this point, a
see,
drug addict, and you make mistakes.
Filth Pig is 96, and so then we get into, but then after Dark Side is 99. So in between that time,
I
is
thought
when
it was
we got
2000.
Lard. So that's where he's still in this kind of dark period.
Yeah.
As far as when it comes to Ministry, the humor's gone, like he's saying. So by Filth Pig in 96, all the humor is sucked out of Ministry. The only thing that really has any fun left is Lard at that point.
I believe Lard did go on tour for this because after that, I'm sure he just wanted to get out and do something fun,
Yeah. So,
Your main band's kind of bumming you out. You got to go and stop thinking about it for a while so you can come back with a fresh approach.
Yeah. But then after that, after Dark Side, we get into, that's where it takes a long time for a Ministry album because it's Dark Side in 99 and Animositomy.
Animosity as it to me. It's how
Animositissomnia.
and it's spelt the same way backwards as it is forwards.
Yeah, it's one of those. But it
A made up word.
that was in 2003, so it was a 4-year gap between Ministry albums when there used to only be
And
1
used
to
to
2.
pumping them out.
Yeah, pumping them out. I mean, that whole period, that dark periods where you start to get long gaps between albums. But then after that, that's where you get this.
And we start to lose our favorite bass player, Paul Barker, as well. People around him are just kind of getting fed up, or he's getting fed up, and
Well, he's also, I think,
it's the '90s still, man. It's a weird time.
well, so he puts out the Animosity, we're gonna call that, and he called that his least favorite album. So he's still kind of going through this dark time, right?
What a way different sounding album as well. There's a lot of catchy songs in there.
Yeah. So yeah, he dislikes that album. But then the next year, that's when we start getting into the trilogy, the George Bush trilogy with House of the Mole, Rio Grande Blood.
And things just start
Last
ramping
Supper,
back
yeah.
up, dude.
And that's
after
where-
House of the Mole.
Yeah.
Whoa, Rio Grande Blood.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's where things like he starts to take this, the songs actually start to get kind of like No W. That was a catchy song. Waiting. Like all of those songs on there are super catchy.
Still waiting.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
my time in
yeah.
the USA. It
They're
became fun
very-
again.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very fun and
that
like,
was so good. Yeah.
and heavy. Like
Really
super
heavy. Though his vocal level just went up another
The
notch.
drums went heavy. The drums went
Oh,
straight up
because we have
metal
double kicks
drums.
now.
Yes.
Yeah,
and he's got that like so it really sounds like a band.
Oh fuck! I didn't
But-
even think of that because that's when we get into the double kick ministry, dude.
Yeah, that's like, but also the kick sounds really good. Like it sounds like a band, but he is synthesizing it in that he's just taking these really good samples and like, he at that point he also said he went away from using all he did an electronic free record with Phil Pig, so that was where it was no electronics, probably trying to get it as raw as possible.
Phil Pig is a weird band.
But-
they got a lot of albums, man.
Well, I mean,
They're all
the
very
album
different.
Phil Pig.
Oh,
The album, that's where he.
Or I'm
he-
thinking of Pig Face. Fuck.
So that album, like you said, he took the recording in a different way, but I think when we get to, like you said, the House of the Mole, we lose Paul Barker, and then also,
We have some great bass
but
players
that's
that
when we
come
get
in and
Mike
help.
Mike Scacia, and that's who's on.
And he's been there the entire time too, just coming in and out whenever, because he's a busy guy with his own bands.
Yeah, but he's also in Lard. But
Oh
that's
yeah,
what,
there's
but
a lot of
so
people in LARD.
but he,
does one song,
he does a few songs,
a few too.
2 and 7.
I was about to say, 2
Or
and
it's
6.
either 2 and 7 or 2 through 7. I don't know. Could
He's
be.
such a great guitar player.
But
I love his riffs.
But that's where we also get to this metal ministry where it's like that guy. Yeah, I like
he
him, too,
stepped
but
it
he
up.
like definitely,
And
he's
coming from a
he's
band like Rigor Mortis.
credited on the writing. You know what I mean, of the album. So yes, he came in and played, but he wrote the riff. He wrote the song.
Those-
So
The riffs in this LARD album are so
well, I mean, not
good.
Lard, the ministry. Sorry,
Yeah,
when
but
he came
still,
when he
like, I
came
can
to
hear his
ministry,
influence,
he
And-
became a writing partner, and then I don't know, he's not credited on any of the songwriting besides.
Damn it! Been there as well.
Yeah, he only did numbers. He did
Love Paul Raven and all the
Mango.
other ones.
Mike Scacia. He only did that. Paul Barker, Rieflin, Jorgensen, and Biafra wrote pretty much everything except for number 2 and number 7, which is "I Want to Be Drug Stuffing Dog," because we have
Yeah, I think this album sounds
Jeff
great
Ward,
because
or-
of the Will Rieflin. He's such an amazing, talented musician.
yeah.
And R.I.P. him as well. I believe we just lost him a couple months ago, actually. believe it was
Let me see.
December 2019.
He died March 24th, 2020.
Oh,
yes, he just
fuck.
passed away. Yeah.
Closer. Damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because he was so good.
Yeah. I
just
mean, he was in King
musician,
Crimson. Jesus Christ.
Oh, he used to fill in for everyone.
Yeah.
You look at his list, dude. He did a Taylor Swift song. I was like, he did what?
King Crimson.
I
You
used
got
to
to
be
be
in
like
ministry.
some
Now
of
I'm
the,
working
like,
with Taylor
be one of the
Swift.
best of the
I wanna
best
do that.
because that's like some technical prog
Yeah.
rock. That's even
And
crazier. than
his brother being a producer, engineer, musician himself, their dad being a musician, it comes from a long
yeah.
cloth of
Well, that
working musicians.
that point to their sound. This not having quite as a heavy sound as where Ministry got with Al, because he took even the people that are on the album, Mike, for example, he took these people and allowed them to really collaborate instead of just be a player. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like, hey,
allowed them to bring ideas to the table.
exactly,
Yeah.
and that's how we get these. That's how we get House of the Mole, which has all these popular songs that they're still playing to this day. No W and Waiting. Those are like classic Ministry songs. He's probably still playing live.
That whole album's really good, just from start to finish.
And then
wait to get there.
Yeah, but then you get like that whole trilogy of albums on top of like all the. He's always releasing these side things. He did the whole side tracks around this time, so there was like
Sidetracks is kind of like where we found Lard as well, because once we found Sidetracks, it really opened up the doorway for Lard to come through, you know? And just loving Dead Kennedys and whatever Jello Biafra touched after the Dead Kennedys, we paid attention to as well. So I believe this is on Alternative Tentacles, the album, right? It's on his record label.
Which one is House of the Mole?
No, Lard.
Oh, Lard.
All the Lard albums, I believe.
Lard is yes,
yes,
it's on his label. The Ministry stuff. That's where like he doesn't have his own studio until like and even 13th Planet. You know, that isn't really even formed until later.
Like 2008, 9?
5, I think, is 13th Planet. And that's also, so he forms 13th Planet and his recording studio, which, you know, all kind of the same sort of a thing, label, studio. But that was 2005, and then Rio Grande's 2006. So that's where he has his control over his own. You know, like Lard is done at, you know, here, let me pull it up, Chicago Tracks. You know what I mean? At this point, he is just kind of making music at different facilities and stuff, familiar places, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't have his own coupe to really refine his sound, which is where Ministry kind of gets, like, not even just Ministry, but projects he's going to do and kind of take his music.
Oh my God.
So,
after that, after he gets his studio, man, in my opinion, some of the best stuff. We get the Buck Satan, and then the new incantation of the Revolting Cocks.
Yeah, you start getting some of that stuff.
I love those two albums to death. But that being said, we've been rambling on about our favorite band.
Let's get a new song going.
Oh, and this is such a fun song. Everyone, I want you to pull up the lyrics and try to read along.
I want to be a drug sniffing dog.
Yeah, that's what you need to find. All right. Did everyone read the lyrics when we were listening to the song? They're just fun and ridiculous, and he is getting to a point, but in the weirdest way, with the most obscure words as possible. I want to be a drug sniffing dog so I can snort cocaine all night long, bite my master when it suits me, get off you, diminish. I can't even fucking finish it, but I always say those first two lines. I want to be a drug sniffing dog so I can snort cocaine all night long. And then when he comes back to it, it's pretty cool. Like, I want to be a San Francisco's cop so I can speed and run red lights. He's a very good wordsmith, you know?
Yeah.
That's part of his genius and which makes Jello Biafra who he is and why people love him.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of went over a little bit of the technical stuff, like where it was recorded. Produced by
Always fun.
their
Just say the names,
aliases.
quote unquote. What are they?
Hypoluxa, Hermes Pan, and Marshall Lawless, who are them, but
Yeah.
create,
Hypopen would be Al Jorgensen. That's what he calls himself, the producer. Is that the first name?
Hypoluxa.
Apple.
They all
What you
have
said
so many
is Al.
nicknames and just names that they've gone by, pseudonyms that they just.
Oh my God, Al has like a whole fucking Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I mean,
on
he
just
has a
those.
shit ton of just him, and who knows who coined them? Probably himself.
Yeah, drugs.
Yeah, drugs. Exactly. You're like laying around.
What was Paul's again? Paul Barker's
Hermes Pan,
and Jello Biafra's.
Marshall Lawless. So and those are like,
They're always fucking around on like what they put on these LARD albums too. It's a bunch of nonsense because like when they list, guitar, vocals and stuff, that's another pseudonym or nickname that they have for that. And then the pictures, usually in the booklet, are just taken from something weird. I believe on the back of this album case, it was just like Ethiopian something. It was children from another country. It was weird, but they never put like their faces in this booklet.
No. Well, they're all of the album besides like, I mean, the first EP, but they're all kind of like stylized. Like at least the two main albums, they have this 50s Leave It to Beaver feel to them,
Right.
Where
And it's actually William Brieflin's wife that did the art for this album. And she did album art for like a lot of bands. Pretty much every band he's worked with, his wife will make an album cover for them. And if you look at her other paintings, dead on. You're like, oh, I know her style. It's very like what is it? Watercolor? I don't know what they do. No.
Jello is credited as the photography for the album. So whatever.
There was weird pictures in there, just random shit. It's like a clown holding a balloon in 1950. It's like what? And
so those are his pictures, or he took them.
Yeah. As far as the cover art,
but yeah, the cover, yeah,
lady.
Yeah, that those are these like sort of that feel.
What is her name? Do you have it? Get a shout out, a proper podcast shout out.
But yeah, like that one, and then the Last Temptation, very just like mocking kind of. It's back to that humor. The humor's gone from Ministry, so it's got to be flourishing somewhere.
Yeah,
so it's here.
Someone's having fun.
Yeah, so that's where the artistic kind of view goes towards Lard when it comes to that, and then it goes back to Ministry, at least.
Yeah, that's how it was working for a while, and we were promised a new Lard album because everyone thought this was the funnest project. Yeah, everyone thought this was like one of the funnest projects they've ever put together. It's just so ridiculous and off the wall that it's like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to record another one of those albums? You don't even have to tour when it comes to like Ministry side projects. You know what I mean? Jello Biafra side projects, if you will.
The EP that came after this song, even that one, that was done
2001?
It was just 2000.
Okay.
But all of it was
rock.
all of it was recorded in the 90s. They didn't do any new tracking. So
So it's just like old shit that they
Just old
tracked and was
stuff
like,
that they-
I
yeah.
guess we'll put it together.
yeah,
You know? And if you don't know, you're gonna know now. Their first EP, The Power of LARD, that's where you get their ballad song, The Power
yeah.
of LARD.
That's probably like the most that really
It's like
industrial
a
sound, like
8-minute
you know what I mean?
song, you know?
Get the like just straight.
Yeah, it's one of my, oh man, every song they have is so good. Even though some of these songs are kind of waste, like there's a song off of Last Temptation where it's just like him, like, oh, fuck, I forgot what they called it, Mr. Screwface or something. But it's like him talking about up my nose. Where did all these wires come from? You know, it's like, give me the electric drill. And he's
Pineapple face.
just pulling shit out. Yeah, he's talking about like weird paranoid ramblings, you know what I mean, of somewhat the government monitoring you. But even inside that, there's like a fun song, you know what I mean? There's like a fun riff that goes with it, a fun drum beat, and you're like, even though it was a bunch of nonsense rambling art project, it was awesome.
That Pineapple Face, that's a song about, you know, Manuel Noriega. So, and then you also have songs like, and then we're just talking about the past album, Silvestre Matuska, which was a Hungarian mass murderer back in Austria in the 1930s. So, you know, They're Coming to Take Me Away. That's an old
That goes on forever.
That's a 1996 novelty song. Yeah, that's an old
you hear people
1966. Yeah, They're Coming to Take Me Away. Haha. You know, that's an old
to the funny
song.
farm.
Yeah. So I mean, there's really to that. There's like he's really playful and just like
LARD
kind
is
of funny.
playful.
Yeah, LARD.
Hence the name.
But also in the
Jesus.
songs they're writing and the topics they're tackling. We just played "Want to Be a Drug Sniffing Dog." That's
Love it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Just the title,
War Pimp Renaissance.
the title alone of the names and stuff. There's a little bit more fun to them than, say, you know, like where Ministry's at this time with Useless, Dead Guy, Lava, Reload. You know what I mean? There's a large comparison in like where the mental artistic you can place your artistic mentality when it comes to Al, who is kind of like the ringleader of all of this, where it's like, you know what, Ministry's too much right now. He does take some of the same people from the band to create this other incarnation.
Ministry's again a revolving door, like most of these industrial bands, like Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails.
But at some point, you can't make Ministry LARD. You know what I mean? Like he probably does that EP, and it's like, this was fun. This was a good artistic venture.
They said they were gonna make another one.
Yeah, I mean, well, that year was 98 that we had the first EP. So, you know, at that point, what's he doing? He's doing
I don't know, 50 other projects. Jesus Christ.
Oh wait, what did I say? 89. Sorry, not 98. 89. He's doing the Mind Is a Terrible Thing. So that's what came out.
Where we get The Power of LARD.
Yeah. So you get that, and then that's where, you know, like in his own words, he starts putting out bad Ministry albums and albums he's not even a fan of, and even just the way Ministry's going for even though it's his thing,
The direction's not heading in the right direction.
Yeah. So that's where you get these side projects that are more playful and fun that then eventually become full EPs, put more time and energy into it, more than even at this time kind of Ministry, you know, Filth Pig being what it was, taking away all the samples and just bare bones almost. And now we go to LARD, which is like kind of back to this Ministry, like it's kind of incorporating a bit of the both, like you're
and having a real drummer there is
real
one of those
drummer.
things, you know, it really does change everything. Let's keep in mind that just because it was kind of remastered in a way when they put it onto a CD from a cassette tape, but they didn't touch it after that. This is how it's always sounded, you know what I mean? These songs sound loud, aggressive.
These haven't really been remastered at all as far as like
crystal clear when it comes to just hearing those crazy drum loops or those guitar riffs. Everything sounds so crystal, and that's mind blowing in some ways. Maybe Al didn't realize. Maybe it took up till 2000 whatever that yes, he is a great musician, but if you surround yourself with just as good musicians and people that are like-minded like you can accomplish something that you didn't even think that it was possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And LARD is one of those things. Just surround yourself with a bunch of great musicians, and you really do get something that's like so unique and amazing.
Yeah. Those people that you surround yourself also influence where the band's going. So that's kind of,
It's always what breaks up a band
It's
or
where-
what keeps a band together.
or even the sound. Like, we lost Paul at Rio Grande, but then we gained Mike, who we kind of already had, but we get him in a more
writing. Yeah.
a more influence, almost kind of swap them around where it's like the influence factor,
Yeah.
not in the actual instrument, but like in who's writing and influencing what. Kind of get the swap, and you almost get like a change in music almost. But it's also back again. It goes back to the head of the snake. Al's kind of going through this. Metal also is going through this in the time. You know what I mean? If he's going to be contemporary and play a show with a Sugar or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like we saw, he needs to stay relevant and sound and everything. So that's
right. Ministry 2.0, if you will.
Yeah. You got to bring on these, like you're saying, people you surround yourself by. You got to bring on who's the best right now. Well, that fucking guy from Prong.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's a great guitar player. They do write solid,
Yeah.
Prong writes solid songs.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get these people like that are in the metal community. Because Al is in the metal community, but there's also like this fresh crop of people coming around. Your Prongs, your Static X's, people's, that Tony Campos dude. You know what I mean?
Campos, one hell of a bass player.
Exactly. So you got to start taking people from these new bands to form your band in this new modern age.
And shout out to Rigor Mortis again, just because not only helping Ministry rebuild their sound, the other guitar player for Rigor Mortis, Craig, I might be, but left and did War. We talked about that when we talked about War Party and how like War's sound has changed dramatically when we get to that mid 2000s, 2002, 2003. These albums are way heavier, guitar wise, and it just kind of ramped up, again, adding that new metal sound, if you will. Quote unquote.
They were able to sound like you put on a modern. It was just you had to stay kind of contemporary and relevant. So if you put on a band, the radio, if your song, because his stuff was still pretty relevant at that time. Like we were saying,
for sure.
Rio Grande,
we still love those albums too.
And
I
Sucker,
love old War albums as well. But once you get up to a certain point, like, it's almost like the older that they get, the better that they get because of all the knowledge that they're storing. And I always believe that my favorite bands just get better with each album. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's just leveling up.
That whole Bush era he's writing, I would almost say this is like we're going back, like besides Land of Rape and Honey, which had, probably Ministry's biggest hit or most well-known song as far as like, it's the song I first heard of theirs.
Yeah.
That kind of got me into that.
Mind has one as well. Passam has the song Passam 69. Which
yes, they all kind of have these like...
fixed, I think that's what it's called.
Psalm 69 had Jesus Built My Hot Rod.
Just one fix.
Yeah, that kind of had a lot of like hits, you know what I mean?
Quote unquote.
But that we get back to this kind of like writing, not pop songs, because they're not, but like just the formula of the songwriting has gotten more back to like the metal sound, because with those 3 songs, House of the Mole, and we're kind of on our Ministry rant, but it's all about Al.
Right.
But like that's where, the songs kind of get more, I don't know, the verse, chorus, verse thing, but it's also, you have like, aren't there solos and stuff?
Adding the real drums, you're adding like old school rock and roll once again back into the mix.
Yeah.
You're doing what everyone did kind of in the past, is just adding in those drums and the guitar solos is what really kind of changes it.
Like this,
and some people hate it. That's why some people are into black metal or death metal, because it's very against that. It does not stick on that formula. But this is more you can bob your head to.
Exactly.
It's easier. Some people would say poppy. You know,
That's where-
it's just a cleaner cut, in my opinion.
Every
band did it. Metallica,
kinda,
Sepultura. The older that they got, the more clean cut.
Exactly.
Gojira, you know what I mean? Even I would say Cannibal Corpse in some ways, just
ways
because
they
they
did.
just slam into
They
a certain
got to a
niche.
more, like,
it
more
figured out what makes
listener
them.
friendly kind of like more broader. But and that's where you do turn your hardcores off because you're like, I want Hammer Smash Face. I don't want fucking Sodom.
Yeah, and how dramatically different those sound.
Yeah.
But again, those are like more of my favorite Cannibal Corpse because it really is. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to Priest of Sodom than Hammer Smash Face, which it's like the song title suggests, it smashes you straight in the face.
And it like the one's just more like, I don't know, kind of what reminds me, like there is that, like, I think of what Cannibal is now, and we're talking about Cannibal, but like where it's like that slow pulverizing, reminds me of just like getting hammered, whereas like the old Cannibal is like like really fast punches.
Yeah, it was like blast
now,
beats the entire time.
Now it's like they do blast beats, but they're like
pick and choose where they're going to slam.
Their riffs are like woven in those blast beats, so it's like it is like a slow punch in the face, even though they're maybe hauling ass.
Yeah, I guess we got great guitar players like Mike. What's his last name?
Scacia. I'm gonna say that because I don't
yeah,
know.
everyone always says it different. Scacia. He was just one of those guitar players that really showed the world like how it was going to work, you know, in the future when it comes to metal. Like these guitar riffs, these really good, solid guitar riffs are really going to be the selling point for a lot of things.
Yeah.
And you just get good drummers and great bass players to go in there with you.
Well, he did.
And then put any vocalist you want on top. Marilyn Manson, Trent Reznor,
Yeah.
Jello Biafra, whoever, you know what I mean? And you're going to create something new and interesting.
Yeah. He actually has passed away as well. Died December 23rd,
God
2012.
damn it.
In, Fort Worth.
That was
47.
Shout out to Ryan. He cried a lot.
He died actually on stage. I don't know if
At a rigor mortis show?
Yep, as part of his.
Yep.
He was performing as part of the 50th birthday celebration for the singer of Rigor Mortis, but he died on stage between 11:36 and 11:40 p.m.
Did he just drop?
He was officially pronounced dead at the hospital when he got there of a sudden heart attack brought on by heart disease. He was 47.
God damn.
But yeah, he pretty much was responsible for the whole being basically Al's right-hand guitar guy. Basically in all of like ministry.
What a steady fucking
Revolting Cox, LARD, 10,000 Homo DJs. I mean, Buck Satan, anything Al has touched guitar wise, he's been there.
And like I said, we gotta listen to more rigor mortis. God damn, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
So I'll kind of touch on some of the other. You don't really have a lot of people on the album besides your essentials.
Let's talk about maybe some of the drummers because we have 3 different drummers. We talked about William Rieflin, how he really changed that way things are going to work too, because he's just a really fucking good drummer and he breaks it down in such a great way. And then you also have Jeff Ward, which R.I.P. He did a lot of the drums on the first LARD album. In fact, he was supposed to be like the drummer of LARD. Yeah. But taking his own life in '94. R.I.P. again.
Yeah, he did Revolting Cox stuff. He worked on 9 Inch Nails' Downward Spiral. He
was there. He was
Filth
in
Pig,
the scene.
LARD.
These people just were very ancestral with members, you know.
Richard Patrick, who's his friend, dealt with his death in a Filter
Richard
track.
Patrick is the singer of Filter. If you didn't know, you don't know.
There's this Filter song, "It's Over," and that's basically about Jeff Ward.
It's not Nice Shot. Hey man, Nice Shot. It's not that one.
It's called.
It could have been. If you would have told me that, I would have believed you.
And he was in 10,000 Homo or 1,000 Homo.
I saw an interview with him talking about that too. I feel pretty bad for Patrick because all his friends around him just, you know, he's always the one that has to. He takes it the hardest. He's always one that like. There at the funeral, talking to the family, doing interviews about them. Everyone else is fucking still fucked off. And he always get this bad rap, you know? But I think he's such a great guy. If you didn't know, he was also the guitar player on A Pretty Hate Machine, 9 Inch Nails. Patrick was. Again, everyone is very
everyone's
ancestral.
kind of like
yeah.
they all kind of feed into each other. Hey, do you know somebody? Hey, I know this guy.
Yeah. I need a new guitar player, you know,
yeah.
or my guitar player's with his other band. I need
I
someone
need
to fill.
somebody else. Yeah. And then you have Ray Washam, which did drums on Mangoat, which we are not going to play, but again, go listen to the album.
It's only 8 songs.
Yeah, it's only 8 songs.
Super fast.
Really
and
short,
fun.
37-minute long album.
Oh man, it's so
really
fun.
short, yeah.
Every song does not disappoint.
And he actually has, he was born here in Austin. Ooh, and he.
If you didn't know, we talked about him on our ministry
Yeah.
episode. We talked about him on other episodes because he filled in for everyone.
Yeah,
The big boys, for God's sakes, man.
Tad, Butthole Surfers.
Talked about him on the Tad episode.
Yeah.
This guy lived right here in Austin as well. He, I believe, also did the drum track for an Iggy Pop song, that one famous one from Trainspotting.
Oh,
Passenger, is that what it's called?
I don't know. We need to talk to this guy though because he's been on. We've
I
talked
think
about him
he's dead.
on the past 3.
Oh yeah, I know.
He's been on the past 3 episodes.
I was like, he lives in Austin. He's played in every one of my favorite bands that come from Austin. Scratch Acid
doesn't list
What?
him as passed away, but I think he's still alive. But yeah,
We
he
should have reached out.
in 2011 he was joined by the original members of Scratch Acid for a winter fall tour. So still doing his thing when he can.
Pretty
Apparently,
awesome. And Al always had a tie to Austin, Texas, for whatever reason. He always came down here.
El Paso.
El Paso too, and then we have the Butthole Surfers, which intertwines
Surfers.
into the ministry and Dead Kennedy's realm.
You start
all these
to get
people just start funneling in.
If there was
you know?
a map of like all these, there'd
Oh
be
my
like
God.
these
String-
strings that kind of the South here is really, this kind of mid South has got a lot of like
a halfway point for ministry coming from Detroit or wherever. I believe it was maybe New Jersey is where ministries. I'm not really sure, but Dead Kennedys are all the way in California, for God's sakes. And I know at one point ministry went to Detroit and taking
founded in Chicago and ministry.
there you go,
Yeah.
and then going to Detroit. And then going to El Paso, or like the Ball Surfers coming from, or living in Austin, or living in San Antonio,
coming to Austin,
to Austin, and then moving to Detroit as well. And they just say such and such from Detroit, like DRI. We know DRI is from Texas, but it's like DRI from California because they moved to California because that's where the thrash metal scene was.
It's like where you make your scene, your splash, or where you're from. So that's where
what you're trying to create. You're going to Nashville if you're doing country. Yeah. You're not going to Chicago. If you want to do jazz, Chicago probably,
Yeah. And then again, rounding out the cast of characters, it was Mike. So you only had those 2 additional drummers and then Mike filling in on guitar. And then your 4, as we mentioned before, the main 4 songwriters basically holding everything down with, bass, keys, like they pretty much handle everything.
Programming,
production,
e-programming.
The only thing that William does is just drums, whereas the other 3 are kind of have their hands in everything else, the programming and the production and stuff like that. So they're still getting programming credits on the album, so they're still doing.
Thank you, Joe Biafra, for putting the drummer's name on the album. Al, you learned something. Now he's already learned. He's like, I'm sorry.
So, and then as far as like reception and stuff, I mean, this is kind of a little bit of an undergroundish record, if you kind of have to know.
I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't have a fucking release date. What does it just say? May? It doesn't have a date.
It's May 13th.
Oh, never mind.
But I mean, to that said, you have some reviews, All Music 4 out of 5, and they kind of give it a this glowing thing as far as like Jello's lyrics, super. They're pessimistic and apocalyptic in the extreme, and basically just kind of going over each song and how he cuts up and mixes phrases and decides what the song is about later, and as he does on Moths, and there's just a lot. So they're praising Jello with like a lot of the lyrical content and the phrasing and stuff, And then
It's kind of the most interesting thing of every Lard song because he's the only one changing anything because of what the words that you're saying. The words that you're saying, you know, are the most interesting part because we just got this riff for like forever.
They said sound-wise, Lard is pure ministry. It's an avalanche of both real and electronic drums.
Hell yeah.
Menacing effects, and then copious layers of machine gun drums.
Oh yeah.
And then it's a little more experimental than the other records, and it came out and went and didn't have the impact of Lard's earlier releases, or even though fans of Jello will definitely want it in their collections. So it kind of is that. It's like this really awesome snippet in all these people's history.
It's an occult album. Yeah. It's just
maybe not even the best of Lard, technically pure chewing, or not pure chewing.
Last Temptation.
Last Temptation has the hits and Fork Boy, and
it just sounds a little different too because it was raw. It had a lot more of a raw sound.
Well, it was more first full length, so it's
and it was stripped away of a lot of the synthesizers and the effects that we're getting in Pure Chewing. In Pure Chewing, we get a lot of.
We also get a different drummer.
Yeah, because of the incidents that happened, the suicide.
But yeah, so all of those. Also, I get the phrase like Lard is ministry. I think it's like as if ministry was like, you know what, we're gonna play punk rock songs, because like the last song we listened to, that chorus is straight up a punk rock riff. And
it's like a shuffle on the drums, so it kind of sounds like it kind of has this like twangy, like kind of rockabilly, country-ish. Yeah.
So it's like it's really ministry would be more like straightforward, kind of like it wouldn't be as fun in the guitar. You know what I mean? Like real punk rocky. That is a punk rock riff. Like it almost sounds like a Ramones riff. It's how like upbeat and fun it is. You know what I mean? So, but it
just has heavy guitar riff around it as well. You know, like when they get back to the
even that you know, it's so simple. It's not really like palm muters. There's nothing really even metal about it besides the just heaviness of it. Just amount of distortion that's just crammed.
Yeah,
you know. Besides that. Like the riff itself is not very metal. It's actually very punk rock, and then you layer the vocals, the punk rock vocals. That's where you get this like it has the like flavorings. It's like as if Ministry played a punk rock cover song.
And man, they're just so good at just falling in with the singer, like just cut the head off and put a different one on it, and it changes
exactly
the whole. The sound of the band, because you get this really unique singer to come in and sing on top of, what essentially is a Ministry song, a Ministry sound, and then tweak it once more to, Jello Biafra is known for punk rock, kind of tweak it over there. It's kind of he's never really done metal because his voice doesn't really
you kind of have
fit
to like
in metal, does it? Because it's not how Jello Biafra sounds. It's not what you want him to sound like.
Even the Jello Melvin stuff, they kind of have to write around him.
Yeah, they had to move it to fit Jello's voice,
like because the Melvins can be anything that you want them to be. Really,
good God,
you want them to be a stoner sludge band, they can do that. You want them to be a fast punk rock band, they can do that. Like.
So whatever the fuck they want.
Exactly.
Experimental band, man, you got that too. They got a whole album of one song.
Yeah, like you got to be able to be that fluid. You have Jello be in the band. You have Mike Patton roll through. If you're a band that's able to take these singers and just kind of mold yourself around them, that's where you can get these really cool band formations and people coming in and like different drummers or wherever. And most just like Lard, you have
people hate supergroups. It's never worked out good. You're like, all these great musicians came together to make this heaping pile of dog shit.
Supergroups, and especially in metal, tend to not really like
come off well to the fans. I personally love the supergroups. Ever name one?
I mean,
Fight?
even like we had
Dave and Alan Coe thing? Yeah.
Think, like, when Soulfly, or not Soulfly, Nailbomb. You know, like
Nail Bomb's another one.
no, they're fucking awesome, and they're an industrial band. They fit in this genre, right?
SOD.
But they kind of had that niche thing where it was like, are they going to be a band or are they
just
this
the one album,
this thing
Yeah.
like Lard? You know
just
what I mean?
a project.
Like they got a little bit of success, which is like, okay, maybe we should kind of maybe feel this out. But at the same time, Al's in ministry and Jello's in
Everything. Yeah.
And you know, and he's about to run for president. So it's like he kind of
He's running.
Well, not now, but at 97, he makes his bid in 2000.
Trying to
So
run
it's
for
like-
the mayor of California back in 78, I believe.
He's already
Come on.
like he can't have his hands. This can't be a full-time band. Like I just can't do that.
yeah.
So like it could be a fun project and maybe I'll tour and do some stuff, but this is not a band. I can't every year we're making an album. Every year we're touring.
And if you're not doing that, then technically you're not a band.
Exactly. It's
So
a fun
band
project.
keeps working and
Exactly.
developing stuff. If you haven't done shit in over 20 years, well, Rage Against the Machine, you're not a band anymore
Yeah.
because you got to keep working. It was just something we used to know.
Even we're talking about the 70s Rock Must Die. Technically, Pure Chewing Satisfaction is the last thing they did because that was probably the last time they were actually in the studio together. 70s Rock is just an amalgamation of all these things they recorded and just put it all together. You know, that we had these songs.
I want another Lard album.
So it's like it hasn't been since 2000 when that album came out. It has been since 97 since they have all gotten together to release something and even record.
How different would it be
So it's
now?
like-
You know what I mean? How different would a new Lard album sound? I think
it
if they
would
stick by the formula that they already made,
Yeah.
it's flawless. You can't mess it up.
I mean, it would have to be at this point. We've differentiated the Ministry sound so much, it would not sound like Ministry. It would you would have to literally copy Ministry's heavy sound.
You'd have to raise the
because
dead.
Lard is not that. Lard is like the punk rock,
Yeah,
like
we need Mike.
middle finger, fuck you kind of band. Like even look at the album art and
I
the
guess-
way the name
yeah.
is and everything. Like it's not.
I think Lard needs their lead guitar player. You know what I mean? If Al's more of the rhythm, program effects guy in Lard, then we need someone to come up with those crazy punk rock riffs. And who will it be if Mike's gone? Like who comes up with these riffs? I know like Paul Barker could have done it, but again,
We'll see at this point.
he's not
the dude
with
from
us anymore.
well,
He left. He's not dead.
The guy from Prong.
I guess, but he's definitely not punk rock. We need someone with.
I'm
a
just
little
saying
bit more,
he's
I
Al's
think that's probably the problem of getting a new Lard album.
guitar guy now.
No, he's cool.
Well, actually, let me see. This is correct? Forgot. Actually, we brought up the Pissing Razors episode. That's who's playing with Al right now. So it would be those guys. It would be the Pissing Razors guys, probably,
Oh yeah,
because that's who's playing guitar with Al right now.
right now.
Is the Caesar Soto, and then the drummer
Yeah, and all that shit got canceled because someone sent me.
Tommy
Liar,
Victor was
yeah.
that guy. I think we saw right.
Yeah, the guy from Prom.
Yeah. But Caesar Soto is from Pissing Razors, and that's who is now doing. I think the bass player too is Paul,
because
Paul Diamore.
because Campost is doing the whole Static X tour, the new Static
Let me
X
see.
stuff.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. But yeah, so if we did get a new Lard and he follows the formula of taking people from Ministry, that's what would happen. Is you would take who's in Ministry now, fill it in.
Get Jello Biafra to sing on top.
Exactly.
The history.
So yeah,
Get into another song.
it was Sorry. So yeah, I was just trying to look up those facts. Caesar, did join Al in Ministry, contracted to be the guitar player since 2015. I was confused. The other person was Jason Bragg, who was their other vocalist, and he joined Rex Brown in his band,
Right.
Kill Devil Hill.
See, we're really sticking with the bands that we know best, aren't we?
Yeah.
We know this because they've just traded members with each other.
And then why I got confused again was because Eddie Garcia and Rick Valles, who were currently Eddie is the drummer for Pissing Razors, and Rick Valles was the bass player. But they in 2004 they were supposed to be the bass and guitar player for Ministry, because Eddie also does guitar.
Yeah.
So they were supposed to be the bass and guitar players for Ministry, but that's when they got replaced by Paul Raven from Killing Joke and Tommy Victor from Prong in 2005. So we would have seen them
in some sort of
in that See You La tour, that
I think,
2005, but they got these guys.
Yeah, came up when Mike was still alive as well, when he was saying, yeah, we're going to do another Lard album. But that's when Mike was still with us, and kind of squashes it, because I don't know if anyone can replace that sound at this point. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
that's what I'm saying.
He's very unique.
I think they've lost so many people that have worked on the albums, and even just Ministry personnel. Like literally, almost half the people.
And you would have to get Paul back. Yeah, it would be a whole new cast of people with just Al and.
It would be Paul, Al, and Jello, or like if you got
Paul,
if you could get Paul, and those are the three originals, which I mean are pretty much the three writers. You know, they've always had somebody come in, but it could happen. It could sound really good. Will it?
Before one of them dies?
As time passes, that kind of slowly fades away.
At least we have these albums. Yeah. And I still listen to them all the time. I put it on and I listen to the whole thing because I'm like, God, they're so fun. I just don't even get tired of this. I don't get burnt out. My Spotify maybe throws me a curveball every so often. It's like, have you ever heard Lard's first album? I'm like, yes, I have. And you know why I didn't click like on it, because you just play it the entire fucking time I press anything. Like, how about Lard? Yeah, I know. Don't ruin it for me, all right? Find it myself.
Well, let's get into one more song, and then we'll kind of
do the final thoughts.
Yeah, we'll do some final thoughts.
Maybe some fun facts. Man, this whole band is just fun facts.
Yeah,
that's all we've
been just doing is fun facts.
It's like we can't really talk about the engineering or
there's not a lot of
the experience of recording, the tragedies.
There's no classic albums.
Yeah, no. I mean, a drummer having a fucking outbreak or just like a fist fight in the studio. None of that.
You could probably look up like
no drama
interviews around this time with the members, but I don't even know if there's like
they talk about it for a few seconds.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's not much like media.
It was always the guy doing the interview that has to know, and it wasn't for anyone else.
And
besides
he just asked
like,
one question.
Yeah, he was like, "This one's kind of for me," and fuck the fans because they don't even know what we're talking about. You know, and the few that do, it's like
yes. But then at that point too, you're also like. The main point is that there's just not a lot of attention focused on Lard, the spotlight.
Yeah, but that's not what Lard's meant for anyways, yeah.
All right. Well, next song is your favorite?
I thought we were doing Moth.
Oh, we're going to go in straight order? Okay, Moth.
Wait,
all right.
Yeah.
All right. This one's, I would say it's pretty heavy. It's got, of all the songs, it's one of the like more metal ones, I think. I think.
Man.
I got to really, it's been a whole sec, but yeah. Pretty sure if this is what I'm thinking of. Check it out.
Yeah, just keep it rolling, man. Just keep it. The next song gets better. It just gets better and better. Oh, man, that was you were right. Yeah, it's kind of like the heaviest song on the album.
It probably is the heaviest song on the album. It gets pretty epic there with those like
riff
weird
just moves
snare,
around,
like
yeah.
like some crazy snare shit.
There it is.
That's where you can hear the like the robot sound or whatever, that like industrial sound is that part specifically, like how fast the snares are and how like on they are. Like they don't sound human.
Oh, it probably is. These three talented drummers,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But, just like what you were saying, just like playing that part by itself, like, I was a little slow. Let me try it again, And then just doing it. Got it. And we don't have to like play this all the way through so I can get that part down. So precise.
Exactly. So like he probably goes in, just has to nail it.
Yeah.
That one, at least for 10 seconds or however long. And then you can just like, because the whole song, that song, at least it's like the snare is like the real driving thing on the verses. Because it's dun 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 smack, dun 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 smack. You know what I mean? Like, so and then that little fill space is like kick and toms. The toms are happening so fast you barely hear them, but it's the same tom fill every time. It's just repeated and repeated and repeated.
Yeah, and that snare makes it sound so funky too, because you're like emphasizing the I guess the 4 or the 1, but like on the 1, it's always like James Brown is like, it's like always on the 1. You kind of
His snares too also like have a sound. You know what I mean? Industrial snare.
I love the way the snare sounds. I love the way the drums sound.
They have a ring to them, and not like a ring, like a hollow ring, but like a smack, and it like kind of
it's
fades.
An echo.
Like,
yeah, I'm sure they added reverb to the
exactly.
snare.
It's like it's that's a real industrial.
It's a good way to like add that little filler as well, to have that sound kind of echo out. It kind of like fills a lot more. You know?
Right. You don't
have to do a lot of ghost notes for all you drummers out there, if you know what I'm talking about. Where you hit the snare on the 2, but like in between, you play a little ghost note, to kind of keep it a little, making it a little funky, adding flavor, if you will.
Well, that's why it sounds so weird whenever you start to cram notes together. Whenever it's like so it sounds really cool whenever it's like spacing on those verse parts, but then whenever you get to that or that even the breakdown where it's that fast guitar part that's kind of just going down, it's descending, and then it cuts to those weird snare rolls that are really fast.
Yeah.
Though if you have that same reverb effect that has like that long, you get a weird sound whenever you start cramming. The sound was designed to have that long tail sound. So when you start cramming the snares together, you get that tail overlapping on your next hit, and maybe even the hit after that if they're close enough. So you get this weird.
Wow, yeah,
it sounds like the snares are kind of like fluttering on top of each other, and it almost doesn't sound real because it's happening so fast that you know what I mean. It's kind of what happens too if you like have I get it when like if you had like an MPC or like a drum sampler and you hit that like button that just makes it play fast and just constantly like that.
Yeah,
you get
blast
that,
beat it.
Yeah, you add that weird delay, that decay reverb to it, then you get those overlaps on top of each other. Yeah. So it could. I wonder what they're doing, if they're turning it down or up or something. But on the verses, it's really prominent, right? And you hear it even in other like songs on the album. That's kind of like a key thing when you have that open snares, to have it kind of ring out and reverb a lot. And then that's the complete opposite of where the band goes, Ministry and stuff, where it's like it needs to be more tighter snare, and then it's all the kick is super tight, and here everything's a little bit more loose.
Yeah, everything's a little bit more wide open. Again, it's probably just listening to the drummers that are recording on what they think. Them being a professional drummer, they probably have a different idea of what they were thinking when they heard this guitar riff,
Even how tight it is.
I was thinking, like you open it up like this, you move it around. And again, a lot of times it was just Al and Paul making up these drum things. They're not drummers. They didn't spend all their time, 30, whatever, 20 years
Well, so you could go in
learning
there
this instrument.
with
You
a
know,
tom,
they're guitar players, they're singers, they're bass player.
Yeah, you could go and just do that one instrument.
Right. But to like really, and we know this because when we listen to those really heavy industrial songs live and having someone come in to learn the album live, it's a whole new feel to that song for the good or for the worse. It depends on what you're going for because it really does change it. Like Nine Inch Nails just sounds different live because obviously it's a real drummer and you have to do real drummer things, you know?
If the band can do it too, like keep up in a sense, you know, like there is a performance aspect of it. That's why a lot of these people kind of are in the same, because they're trusted individuals. Like I know I trust you. You can go into the studio and lay down this industrial sound. I'm not gonna go get guy from Cannibal, even though he's a great guitar player or whatever. And I'm just throwing that weird reference out there, but it's like you pick and pull the people that you know best, especially if you have a good close working relationship with them. You're not going to go get a random guy, even if they're just a great player. You're going to get somebody who knows how to play this type of music live. And then once you get them, you're going to stick with them if they do it well, because there's probably not very many people that do it. You know?
And they're probably just like getting together, jamming, and they're like, that sounds fun and cool. And then tweak like from there. There was no intention, anything else to like, we need to write the best album or we need another album to come out to make us seem irrelevant. We need to figure out something that we did different last time, but learn. There's none of that. It's just like friends getting together and be like, this is fun. This is cool. No? Hey, why not record it and put out an album? And you can hear just how fun and free and loose these recordings, these songs, you know, really are. And shout out to Paul Barker because that bass line nails that song. It's a classic Paul Barker bass riff, you know?
Yeah.
He has those like riffs that he has that certain he has a bass tone of his own, I would say, you know?
Yeah.
He definitely has his own sound. Fun fact, we tried to reach out to Paul. I believe he lives here in town, Austin, Texas. That's where we're located. I'm not sure, but no response, obviously. We're not, you know. The world's biggest music podcast,
a electronics business where he makes
pedals, right?
He makes synth stuff. He makes he makes.
Could have reached out to the drummer.
Pretty.
He was like, I only recorded one song, fucking 28 years ago. What was it like working with Jello?
Yeah. Here, I'm trying to pull it up real quick. Any final thoughts that you got on the LARD stuff?
Well, I was gonna say it's kind of how I met Paul Barker at a show.
Oh, really?
Because we went to go see Jello Biafra in the Guantanamo School of Medicine, and I even said, hey, like a dumb question, hey, what are you doing here? He's like, I'm just here to see my boy Jello, you know. So obviously, still good friends there. It's just crazy because it was like, I think it was Jello Biafra, and then the next night was Revolting Cocks as well. And then the night after that, we went to go see Bowhole Surfers. So all these bands that are very close to each other in some way, shape, or form just kind of all played in town around the same time. You know, and just getting close to South by, I believe it was. That's all it was. It was like South by was about to hit. So it was like the week before, a couple of days before South by actually hit.
Maleko.
I could be wrong on that.
That's the name of his brand. They do make pedals, some guitar pedals, and they make tabletop synths. So they make these really cool synthesizers that he actually has a bunch of videos on his Instagram of him using them and making beats and music and stuff like that with them. His big one that like is kind of selling and that he promotes a lot is called the Manther, which is like this really cool. It's $650. So it's a little bit expensive, but I mean, probably not expensive for what you're getting. Yeah, it's handcrafted and very cool synthesizer that It says it works with so yeah, the Manther. And then yeah, he's got a bunch of pedals from ranging, bass, guitar, probably some keyboard in there.
I love his bass sound.
He does have a pedal. He makes a pedal called the Bass Master, which is also B apostrophe ass master, which is like this. It's a pedal that has a pink triangle on it, and it's like this iconic pedal that you go looking on people's boards. It's one that's been on a few boards because of.
Is it one of those secret weapons that people won't say if they're using it or not? Because they're like, how'd you get that tone? And they're like, producers. They don't want to like give away their secrets.
It's basically just like an octave fuzz pedal, but it has, I think because of its look, it's pink and it has this pink triangle. So it's kind of got this weird retro look to it. So I think
feels like I've seen it.
Yeah.
I didn't play fucking guitar or bass.
I've seen it on a few boards, but because of that pink triangle, and it is, I guess, tuned to a certain type of music because it's like a fuzz sound. So it's like part of probably, I think a lot of what you're saying about his bass tone, is attributed kind of to this sound, this octave fuzz sound.
Because they spent a lot of time, Ministry, all these musicians, a lot of time in the studio perfecting their sound. Al with the way his vocals sound, that was a crazy way to mix vocals, or like however he did it. It's kind of like a trade secret. He won't tell you exactly how it's done because it's like it took a long time to figure out. Same thing with Paul Barker's bass. Like just a lot of time sit there working with your tones,
Yeah. So yeah, the synthesizer thing. He, as of now, he is the bass player for, or just in the group Pucifer. He's
I told you
the bass player. Yeah.
I said it, and you were like, I can't find that anywhere. I was like, he's definitely in Pucifer now. I saw him. No.
I thought we did. We looked at his thing.
Yeah, I didn't think it was listed on there for whatever reason. It was in the Tool episode.
Yeah. So yeah, that and then he's in another band, Bells into Machines, and that's about it. That's all he's doing right now. Fun fact: his brother was in Ministry, Roland Barker, and he
was
played
in the first incantations of Ministry.
He was just the touring keyboardist and saxophonist.
Yeah,
till 1985.
They used to be really weird back in the day, like Butthole Surfer style. 2 drummers on stage, a saxophone, horns, backup singers. Ministry used to do that type of stuff,
Yeah.
Before they got to well-refined industrial metal. God, just so much fun. And this album, this band, LARD, encapsulates all of that's going on at the time. Like, look how fun this scene was,
Have you seen the Ministry documentary? I did.
The Wax Tracks one, or just the Ministry documentary?
I don't know. It's called Fix, the movie.
I think I have a long time ago. When it comes to doing this research for these episodes, sometimes it's like I've already learned a lot of this.
Yes.
Back in the day, and then now it's just like
regurgitating.
And dusting off. Because I was like so obsessed with these people, especially like Jello Biafra. Countless interviews I've listened to him.
Yeah.
I have a whole album on my Spotify of just him ranting. It's like his spoken word album. And Spotify loves to just play it out of my 2,100 song fucking mix. When I hit random, it just loves to put that song before and after every song. Fucking frustrating. God. So fucking. But if you just type in Jello Biafra on Apple Music, Spotify, go down to related artists. Well, you're gonna be there. You got a lot of music, John Pack.
There's a lot, yeah.
He's one of those guys, man. He's like a Mike Patton, Yeah. Hands are in a lot of things.
If you go through
many things,
that's kind of like the thing. We go like you look up a band or a person, and that's hard.
And every member in this band does that. Al Jordanson goes out and all over the place with his multiple side projects. Paul Barker is just accredited for some of the coolest fucking albums in the 90s. It's like he's here, he's there. Now he's playing with Pucifer. It's fucking great. And that drummer, I believe he's just working with the one that's still alive. Is he still playing drums, or was like the
As far as ministry, or what do you mean?
no the you're talking about 3 drummers here. William,
Yes.
he passed away.
Williams
Ward.
passed away. Jeff Ward has passed away.
Oh, it was
and
Washington.
Ray Washam.
Oh, whatever.
That's the guy that we
lives here in Austin.
we
Yeah.
should try get a hold of because he's been on 3 of our episodes.
I know we keep talking about him. I'm like, he's from here.
Yeah,
You know,
and that's again that's about everybody on the album. You just have.
is he doing anything right now? Like
that Ray guy?
project wise?
He actually was in a. He filled in. He filled in Jason Schwartzman position on that band Phantom Planet. That
No, it's
was
fucking
on that.
weird.
And then they did a tour.
Some
But
planet.
they never did.
California.
They never really did tour. And then he played jazz with the jazz band, the Euphrates. I think that's Euphrates Pants, and they recorded an unreleased album. And then, like I said, he did the Scratch Ashes reunion in 2011. That's about it.
Drummers don't age very well. They kind of stopped playing drums at 50 just because like it hurts, you know? Less repetitive motion in an elbow,
See,
man.
born 61.
Yeah.
So he's
Like at a clicky elbow.
already 60 years old almost. He'll be 60 next year.
You want to play some of these LARD songs?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
My legs will fall off.
Yeah.
Want to go on a LARD reunion tour? Yeah. I get it. It's just drums are. It takes a lot of physical capability to play.
Yeah.
Some other fun facts. I believe 3 episodes ago, last month, Al Jorgensen was on Bill Burr's podcast, the Monday Morning Podcast. They were talking like they're best friends. They've known each other for years. I was like, you just know him? No. That was pretty fun and interesting. He was saying like, you know, Bill was like, you play guitar, like talking about musician shit. And he was like, no, I don't really play guitar. You know, it's like I write songs. I'm not known for being the world's best guitar player.
Yeah.
He's known for being Al Jorgensen. And I know Ryan, fuck him in his face. Shout out to Ryan McIrvin. Because he would always give people shit. You know, it's like, oh, fucking Al's all old and fat. He can't play guitar anymore like back in the day. And it's like, he's singing all these parts. He has to remember everything. He doesn't need to be playing guitar and singing at the same time.
But it's also
It's kind of
the
a young
music
man's.
itself.
It's a young man's game, you know, to sing and play like that.
The industrial music really doesn't need you to be playing all the time.
You know, Max Calavera did the same thing. Kind of just stopped playing guitar after a while. It's physical. Like these people are pushing their 60s and stuff. So it's like,
but it's also like what music
you're going
you're
out there
playing,
for an
like,
hour and 30 minutes each night. Make it easy on yourself.
If like Al is doing a ministry tour, you only need one guitar player because there really isn't like there's some extra.
There's some parts he
sides,
just lets it hang on him.
but it's also like not the extra parts that Al needs to do really aren't that
solos.
technical.
Yeah, it
And
just
it's
needs
like-
to fill in 4 solos pretty much.
Yeah, and then even like if you look at this album, it sounds fast and the drums are fast, everything's fast, but really like the guitars are being fast. I'm not saying that, but it's not like I guess it's not Eddie Van Halen over here. It's not too technical. What it is he's playing these riffs, and even then he probably doesn't need to play them for the whole
4.5
16
minute
measures.
times. Yeah,
He needs to nail that 4 measure. Nails that 4 measure, and then he slices and tapes it
right.
4 times, and you got the 16 measure.
Yeah,
Or easy or whatever. And it's like
just live. It's just bringing it back to the live thing. It's just hard to play that riff for 4 minutes over and over again.
I think of Al
you just
as
have
more of
someone
like,
just doing that. You can't play that and do the vocals. You got to remember the vocals. You got to remember how to sing it.
Yeah.
Or just remember the lyrics really and sing.
I see Al as more like the weird mad scientist that just so happens to know how to play. He's not very good. He sticks to the top 3 strings and knows how to play a power chord, like some punk rock stuff. Like I know how to form a chord. It's just like who is it from the Misfits? fucking bass player, Doyle. Doesn't
Oh.
like Glenn showed him. This is a power chord. These are the notes on the fret, and these are like he showed him 3 things, and that's how he still writes music to this day. And that is probably what Al does.
Yeah,
Like,
the guitar player, Doyle Frankenstein.
or Doyle, not bass player. Sorry, but to that, I could see Al having that where it's like I don't need to overcomplicate my guitar playing. I just need to make a song. I need how to write. I need how to form a chord with my hands. I need to know what notes are on the guitar, and that's about it. Because
he's an engineering genius.
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
I'm more focused on like the whole song as a structure, not just
producing
the guitar
as well,
part.
you know?
Like the guitar part, I'm just gonna it could be the riff doesn't matter. It's the energy of the song. Doesn't need to be the most complicated riff like we just listened to with, I Want to Be a Drug Sniffing Dog. The feel of the song is there. The riff, easy. It's so fucking simple. Like anybody could play it. Like any beginner guitar player.
Pretty much, it's just doing it
exactly
at that timing. At that tempo.
Is consistency.
Yeah,
and that industrial takes care of because it's industrial music. You don't need to be very consistent the whole song. The song will take care of it.
You just get an awesome drummer. Mm-hmm. The rest, or a backing track, awesome drummer, and the rest figures itself out. You sing more of the time.
Singing is going to be like
the main thing. As long as the drums are sounding good on time, hey,
I bet
we don't really care what the guitars are doing too much.
I bet a lot of time went into the vocals, like just as much. I could almost see the vocals taking more time than the music almost in this, just by sheer fact that they had most of it recorded years prior. 90, 91, 92. They only do 2 years of recording for it. It's probably all just the vocal tracks.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on that note, we should probably wrap it up. We've been rambling forever.
Yeah. So
much more to talk about, I guess, but we'll get there when we do some Dead Kennedys or something more Jello Biafra related.
Follow us on
so much. All the social media pages. You can follow us on Instagram at BANGover Productions, and then click that bell for us over at YouTube. So you can see live videos and have all our stuff at your fingertips, if you will. That's definitely at BANGover Productions as well.
Yeah,
type it in all one word. It doesn't really matter. It'll pop up.
Got new stuff coming, so just keep an eye out.
Right, and let's do a shout out for one of our new podcasts, another a sister podcast, if you will. All about horror movies. It's called We Are Horrible, parentheses IBLE. Put those little...
Yes.
What are they called?
If you search for it I'm sure if you put We Are Horrible, like you'll find... I don't know. We'll have to do some experimenting on the searching, but I think if you just type in We Are Horrible, it'll come up.
I knew you had to put the weird...
oh, you do?
The boxes around it on the horrible. What are those called?
I don't know what y'all have.
Yeah.
I don't have to look at it.
It's ridiculous. We might have to change that around, but we'll post it on our Instagram. We'll have it up on our YouTube page. So just follow us there, and then you can follow them.
Yep.
Just a deep dive into horror movies and just talking about how fun or what it would be like if you were in this scenario, right?
Yeah.
That's
it's basically a What Would You Do podcast.
Yeah. That's a good way of saying it. So we're going to end it with one of my favorite songs. And I was reading the lyrics to this the other night as I was listening to it. And it is so much fun. What he talks about, the things he says, I'm like, God, this is inspiring for me as a singer. I'm like, I got to really up my game because he makes it sound so easy.
Yeah.
I can sing about anything. He could put any word where he wants it to be. It's like, he's amazing.
Also the longest song on the album. So we'll end it with your favorite.
Yeah. What's it called?
Generation Execute.
Oh yeah.
So you break out your lyric sheet.
And again, go out and find LARD. This is why I wanted to do this episode so much, is for everyone to learn about this very awesome band that was not lost, but just there in the background the entire time.
tape of people making love. Couldn't find no love in here. It's a family store, see here. I settled for faces of death, but they rented it to some kid. I'm tired of the same old store. Pick but cable network, give me more. All day, all night, broadcast live. Gas, fry, injection. Bring the pretzels, bring the kids. Have a party, have a beer. Phil Donahue got his wish. Executions on live TV. Here's your host, Cozy Pink Wicket. What's your name? You're 14? And what are you being put to death for today? Is your family here? What was your last meal? Any last word for the fans? Longer you cling to life, more prizes for your friends. Gas, fry, yeah. All right. What's it gonna be, old Sparky? More points for the firing squad. Grand prize, step inside. $100,000 gas chamber. Answer one question. How do we keep now Jaffa Hill? The gas is rising. There goes the bell. 5 minutes. 6 minutes! Ladies and gentlemen, he's swallowing his tongue!